Hello, guys. How are you? Welcome to the Kleros Moderate launch event. Yeah, thank you all for coming. Super happy to be here. To be here virtually, of course, on the metaverse in this launch. Um, I just wanted to come to say just a few words about how this idea started. Um, Let me take you back some 2 years in the past. Um, so, you know, on January 6, 2021, Jack Dorsey was vacationing here in the French Polynesia, in a very exclusive resort. He was having fun on the beach and all that. And then in the middle of the night, he gets a call from his legal team at Twitter, and they tell him that there is people storming the U.S. Capitol, and in a very tense situation. Remember all of the violence that was there, and there was a problem that the president Donald Trump was tweeting some stuff that seemed like a bit. Calling for violence in a very sensitive environment, and he was calling for more people to go to the Capitol, um, and they didn't know what to do. And that's why they called Jack Dorsey, and they had a very tense meeting in the middle of the night where they basically decided to ban Trump, which had extremely serious consequences. He was the president, but well, he was violating the Twitter rules. And this like unleashed the devil basically, because Trump, after his tweets were deleted, he went full on ranting against Twitter, accusing them of free speech violations. And well, no, this was a super complicated situation for Twitter. And in the end, he ended up being banned by the company. And if you want to learn a bit more about this, I recommend this article that was published in the New York Times, and how this decision was made by Twitter to ban Trump in the middle of the U.S. Capitol incidents. And this basically posed a very important debate about the power of social media companies to, basically decide what is acceptable as a free speech in these platforms. And well, it was interesting to see that people from these technology companies were able to ban someone as powerful as the U.S. president. So what is left for the small guy who just is a regular user, right? So of course, this Twitter incident was just the tip of the iceberg of something that happens every day. Facebook makes lots of decisions about content moderation. 300,000 mistakes are done every single day on Facebook, and this means people who get banned for no reason, people who get their tweets, or their posts deleted. Some of them are actually, they make their living. If you are a guy who is selling you're selling stuff on Twitter or on Facebook, and you get banned unfairly, that you basically lose your means of living. So it's not a joke. It's a very important deal for a lot of people, and there have been different situations where these technology companies have tried to not get involved in doing content moderation. A very famous attempt was done by Facebook in the Facebook Supreme Court that was launched a few years ago, where they have a panel of experts that review like controversial decisions about content moderation. Um, um, the thing is that all of these initiatives are not going to be very scalable in the future, because we're going to a future of decentralized social media, a future where we will have people working and interacting on protocols like Lens, for example. So this new world of social media is going to require at some point also decentralized social media, tools, right? Um, at Kleros, we have been aware that um, social media moderation could be decentralized, based on Kleros. We published this in our first white paper in 2017. We already were foreseeing a world where Kleros users could be the decision makers in situations of content moderation. So this was of course, super early days. Um, and we kind of started to think a bit more seriously about this when we had all of this drama with Proof of Humanity. You remember with these factions and the drama about who built this or not. And then one of the big things that happened in the middle of those discussions that were taking place mostly, on Telegram, was that there were some people that were doing comments that were inappropriate and they were breaking the rules of the group. And they were banned. And what happened is, oh no, now Kleros is censoring free speech, and so they are like, they don't want us to say what we want to say in the Telegram group. So, and this for us was a bit, of the moment where we saw that the time for these ideas was coming. The Trump thing, the Facebook, Supreme Court, this drama of Proof of Humanity. So, free speech or general speech online matters a big deal. And, at that moment, we started working with different members of the Kleros team, but more, especially with Shotaro, in building this tool that we call Kleros Moderate. And that is a decentralized tool to resolve content moderation disputes that are happening in the world of social media. So I'm super happy about this launch because I think this is a tool that, in my particular case, I have been willing to see working since the very early days of the project. As you know, 2017, we were already thinking about these ideas. So I'm super happy about this launch. Susie, our Kleros Moderate, has been around for a couple of months now, but mostly we were just testing it. Now we think it's ready for prime time. So we are going to start pushing it a bit more aggressively into the world of the metaverse. Thank you all very much for coming, and I will let now Shotaro give you a more comprehensive and technical introduction. So Shotaro, stage is yours, man.
Great, thank you so much, Federico. I'll try my best to maybe I can even start screen sharing myself, but we might not be quite set up logistically. So hopefully we can capture some of this. Here, let's see. So today we're discussing Kleros Moderate and announcing Susie, which is a Telegram moderation bot, which will leverage Kleros and allow for crowdsourcing of decision-making for whether users broke the rules or not. So let's see. Okay. All right. So Federico already gave a very good introduction to the problem, and we're all familiar that Telegram, you have large groups, and it's very difficult to manage these communities. And what's easy to manage is someone who joins a Telegram group immediately starts spamming or sharing something inappropriate. You just remove them. But what's more difficult is when you have community members who are flirting with the boundary of the rules and pushing the boundaries of the rules, and even outright violating them. But when you try to enforce the rules and apply some restrictions or bans or penalties, could be for 1 day or 1 week, there's always some people arguing whether or not the ban is justified. So Kleros Moderate is trying to solve this problem, and just to demonstrate further, accusations of censorship are quite common in lots of different crypto communities. Even there's a famous example of the Bitcoin subreddit being dominated by one moderator who some thought was making too many decisions, as if that subreddit was a private group, and rather it was a public platform for many people to participate, and it shouldn't be just one person making decisions of what can and cannot be shared. And the similar thing applies to other groups which are working on social coordination. So blockchains are one aspect, but actually any social media group, any internet forum has this element of social coordination and people who, might be breaking the rules. And again, you have the Trump case, so this is rampant in any social media network. You have a problem, who moderates moderators? And Facebook had one approach that they made some Supreme Court to handle high-level, high-stakes content moderation disputes. And we think Kleros can fill this role for low-value, high-volume disputes that are happening natively online, where, are you going to actually call the Supreme Court? Well, Facebook is making a great effort in this direction, but we think we can use Kleros, which is a dispute resolution mechanism, to resolve these disputes that are happening natively in, I suppose, the metaverse or just online on social media networks. So right now we have a tool working with Telegram, and of course we would like to expand to other channels as well. Really what we're showcasing today is this bot here, Susie the Kleros Moderator, and she leverages lots of different tools, but primarily 3 different tools. A dApp called reality.eth, that's on the left, Kleros for dispute resolution, and of course Telegram and interacting with Telegram APIs. And so how does it work? Well, a user can report some content for violating the rules. And when they make that report, a question is asked on this platform, reality.eth, where anyone can place a bond. And they place a bond saying, yes, this user broke the rules. Susie, the Telegram bot, is listening to events that are happening on-chain, and whenever someone places a bond, she will ban or unban a user. If anyone is unhappy with this optimistic decision, then the outcome, this content moderation question of whether the user broke the rules or not, can be disputed in the Kleros court. And it's a innocent until proven guilty system. So, while there's a dispute, then the user has no consequences. For example, here's a message by a user saying, well, something pretty harmful, and you make a report. So Susie facilitates asking a question. So did this user break the rule? She also saves a copy of this message and uploads it, pins it on IPFS. And reports require multiple confirmations. So reports require some social consensus that at least 2 other people in the group agree with you that this user broke the rules and should be reported. So first you have a social consensus to confirm the report. And then Susie, after confirming the report, creates this question: did the user break the rules? Anyone can answer this question. So they place a bond on no, the user did not break the rules, or yes, the user did break the rules. But every time the answer changes, the bond doubles. So it's an escalation game. So here's an example of what this front end looks like. So when a user is reported, Susie will provide a link to this front end where users can connect to the wallet and place bonds. So this is a question: did this user break the rules? And the rules are linked to a document, content ID on IPFS. And the rules are also specified beforehand. And at any time, anyone can request arbitration. So the high-level idea here is that users are depositing some bond into reality.eth, whether or not users broke the rules, and Kleros can arbitrate. And I think some people are familiar with Kleros, but the idea with Kleros is using weighted random selection to draw jurors, or in this context, we're calling them moderators. So moderators are chosen at random to look at the moderation question, and they commit to their vote, and the vote is revealed. And if they are coherent with the majority of other moderators, then they are rewarded. And if they are incoherent with other moderators, then they lose some of their own deposit. So here's an example of a very similar, there are disputes ongoing, and this is the text has changed slightly, but there are ongoing disputes, and this is what the front end looks like to make a dispute on Kleros. And disputes can also be appealed. So currently, the default settings is to draw 3 moderators at random, and those 3 make a decision. If 2 out of 3 say yes, the user broke the rules, and 1 thinks no, the user did not break the rules, then anyone can request an appeal. And when you appeal, you escalate. So you draw a larger number of moderators. So going from 3 to 7 to 15 to 31, always an odd number, never a tie. So as a consequence, we also have an escalating penalty system. So the first violation, it could happen just due to negligence. So actually, the moderation box, Susie, she will welcome new users as a setting, and explicitly users have to press a button, otherwise they're muted when they join, that says, I agree to follow the rules. And I'm guessing everyone has accepted terms and conditions without actually reading them, and many users don't actually read the rules, they just click accept. So it's plausible that users break the rules without intention or due to negligence. So the first ban is fairly moderate, 1 day. But after the first ban, if a user breaks the rules again, then they're clearly aware of the rules. And the penalties should increase steeply as a strong disincentive to break the rules again. So here we just have exponentially increasing penalties. 1 day, 10 days, 100 days, 1,000 days. And we also have a concept of federations. So oftentimes there are many Telegram groups which are have similar interests or are managed by similar administrators, or at least share some common content moderation policies or a common set of administrators, community managers. Each group can actually have group-specific rules. So some groups can be very safe for work, and other groups can be very not safe for work. But the idea is categorization, that the rules should suit the topic of the group. And you can create a federation between many groups. So if a user breaks a rule and is banned in one of the groups, they're banned in the entire federation. So what we are working on deploying this week is putting Susie, the Kleros moderator, into a federation, uniting many of Kleros affiliated Telegram groups under a common moderation approach using Susie for enforcement. So currently, Susie has been active in a community-ran trading group, and it's provided lots of feedback, what's working, what's not working, what's confusing, and we think at this point, Susie's working well, and now we're expanding and putting Susie in many more groups. And this, we can do a demo here. This is a Telegram group where Susie is active with some custom rules. If you're interested, I'll leave this up for a minute. So it's just a group for fun. It's called the Knights Who Say Ni. So the rules of the group are that every text message that is sent must begin with NI exclamation point, ni. And this is a reference to Monty Python, and there's a scene in Monty Python where, the protagonists encounter a group of knights who, primarily say ni. It's kind of absurdist, but it's just having fun. And again, like the idea here is that, it's easy for moderators to it's easy for community managers to see, oh, a new user joined the group and they're immediately breaking the rules, they're sharing spam, and I'm just going to ban this user, and no one really complains. But the real use case of Susie is in an environment where you have real community members, where, yeah, you have some conflict between community members, and this conflict might escalate where some participants are, yeah, engaging in, well, in a delicate way, just bordering on breaking the rules and really pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable and not acceptable in healthy debate. And so, this is a fun group, and so kind of what I'm saying here is that the intention here is that Susie doesn't necessarily replace every moderation action, and you can also specify in your rules, hey, admins have the power just to quickly ban obvious spam. And again, ultimately, what's underlying lots of these forums and online communities, it's a social consensus. So, I mean, like, let's say that administrators are going completely drunk with power and banning users left and right. I mean, the users can, in a manner of speaking, fork the group, and they can make a new group, and users can leave and join the other group. This doesn't happen often, but that's a similar recourse to the social layer, or the so-called layer 0 of a lot of blockchains. It's somewhat subjective question. Did the user break the rules, and does the group even have some legitimacy or credible neutrality? And so this is what we're trying to address, is providing a tool to disintermediate providing negative feedback, which is, hey, you broke the rules. It's incredibly difficult to tell people that they broke the rules, but also to do this in an incredibly neutral way. And to do it by crowdsourcing the decision rather than just one person making that decision. So probably I'll go further and then maybe bring up Telegram for a live demo, but maybe I'll end the recording here. Yeah, this is just another Telegram group more focused on Moderate. So if you join, have some questions, and actually, Susie, the Kleros Moderator bot, is live in different groups. So you can add her to a group and start playing around. There might be one element I perhaps skipped over here. And that's, so we're using Gnosis Chain to ask these reality.eth content moderation questions. And we're using Gnosis Chain because we're subsidizing transaction fees. So when a user creates a question, Susie will actually create this question, which is sending a transaction that's happening on chain. So users, when they play the escalation game, they are escalating by placing die, and this is X die on Gnosis Chain. Well, so in any case, yeah, thanks for coming and listening, and I'm glad to chat later. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Who will moderate the group? Like, who decides the rule?
Yeah, good question. So
because some admins are really dictator kind of an admin. If you probably are like some crazy admins.
Right.
How can you deal with that?
So I mentioned this at the end of the talk, but ultimately, if the admins are disrespecting the consensus of the group, you can split the group. So you can make a new group, and people can choose to join you if they also
have a chance to penalize the admin of the group.
So
some admin needs that treatment as well, because it's not always like they are always right. Just because they started first doesn't mean they are the best.
Yeah, that's so I think there's like two questions here. So like who makes the rules, and shouldn't admins also have some negative feedback? And so there's an option to make admins reportable. So admins can also face consequences. So you can report admins. And also who makes the rules? Well, the admins do make the rules. So we do have a few different policies that we've written for different groups. So some not so safe for work groups, which are somewhat unofficial and meme friendly. Those should have relaxed rules, but official groups for discussing a project or a protocol should be a bit more welcoming and a bit more clean. So we do have a few policies we've written, and the future goal is to have what's the term here? Plug and play policies for different use cases. So it is difficult to write rules. There are always unforeseen circumstances. There are always edge cases, and this is actually an important part of understanding. Well, those who set the rules and those who enforce the rules. So it's true that if the rules are poorly written, users can be banned, which maybe people think actually that behavior is acceptable, but maybe there is a interpretation of the rules which was not foreseen when the rules were written.
Let me be a little specific. Let's say somebody posted a video on YouTube. Let's say it's the video which is like appropriate at the current time, but let's say 6 months from now, that video is totally outdated. Let's say it became a misinformation.
Yeah.
But that person hasn't removed it.
Right.
So can we sack the person for posting the wrong stuff on the social media or not taking the accountability of this bad work?
So
because the best way you can do is comment on them, which is like shaming them publicly, which is not appropriate at the first shot.
So this might not directly address this question, but I will mention that the way Susie works is that when the rules change, users cannot be retroactively punished. So users are only held to the standard of the rules at the time that the rules are established. Okay. So an admin can't change the rules and then go back in time and report users for breaking the new rules. So it's always contemporaneous, and I mean, there are actually lots of learnings that we made by experimenting with Susie in real Telegram groups and incorporating feedback. So there's,
Brilliant. So thanks.
Sure. Yeah.
My question is a little bit more general, but I see that you thought about the coercive thing you can do with your system, like the punitive way. But did you think about incentivizing good behavior? Because your system will absolutely do it, and it works a little bit better from a psychological point of view.
So we do have there is a very loose reputation system, and what I mean by reputation system is that there's actually a sheriff and deputy sheriff for every group. And whoever makes the most reports that are actually answered by placing bond. If you have at least 2/3 of your reports answered and more than 10 reports, then you become a good Samaritan. And whoever has the most or second most reports that are successfully answered, then you get this deputy sheriff hat. And Susie, the Kleros Moderator, she'll make an announcement. Hey, there's a new sheriff in town. So there is this sort of like playful element, but point taken, right? Like this, like the tool that we're providing is providing lots of tools to provide negative feedback, but you also want tools to provide positive feedback. You want to highlight positive contributions. So there's probably more that we can explore in that area of highlighting positive contributions.
So I have a question. Is Susie then AI or it's not? So does it really recognize all bad behavior, or it has certain rules set like, okay, this is bad behavior, using this word is bad behavior?
So Susie is not AI. So the way Susie is working is that it responds to user input. So we're crowdsourcing reports. So and why I'm being very careful with my words, because a human does not necessarily need to report behavior. You could also have an AI bot in your chat that detects toxic messages and initiates this report. And there's actually some interesting work happening right now with prediction markets. So there's a prediction market project. Gnosis first started as a prediction market project, and they built Omen. And Omen still is a prediction market. These days, it's not very widely used or maintained, but I think there's some interest in reviving Omen for low-value, high-volume prediction markets, incorporating an element of AI. So you actually have AIs that might be able to leave deposits and automatically answer reports, but where there's skin in the game, that if these AI bots get it wrong, you as a user has a recourse to appeal, to actually claim, at least one die, which must be placed in order to start a report. That's a minimum bond. So if you're unfairly challenged, yeah, your compensation is actually free money. So that's, it's can be inconvenienced to be reported, but there are even rate limits. So users can report other users, but only up to a certain number per day. And if they make many unanswered reports or reports that are answered negatively, the user did not break the rules, then their rate limit is even more throttled, so they can't really make further reports. So so long story short, we respond to messages that are sent in the chat. Typically, those are humans. Right now, we're only focusing on crowdsourcing human responses. But that doesn't mean that we're closed to the idea of having AIs participate. But the idea is that you can always appeal and you can always dispute a ban, even by an AI. And if the AI bans you or makes a report, you can even receive a compensation for being unrightly banned.